Hi guys, Shashar here. So far we learned about Active Directory and some details about Active Directory I can say. Now it's time to apply those Active Directory details to our favorite business, Contoso. And in this module we are going to discuss about the growth of the business. So business is booming for Sam and Rita. They have multiple employees now. Their IT infrastructure is also in good shape as they have centralized identity server or the domain controller which we installed for them, where all the users are created and groups are created, and all other resources in their offices like PCs and file servers and printers are authenticating from this AD server. So we set up all their file shares and we created the groups and we gave the right people the right permission. So now they have a complete control on not only the files and folders of the file server, but also the users now can log into any PC which they want without waiting for any specific PC to get free. Because all the computers are joined to the domain now, so the users are free. They can log into any computer and their profiles is available to them, their file shares are available to them, and they don't have to wait for a specific computer to get free. Sam and Rita decided to outsource some of the support work to Manila in Philippines, and they opened an office there as well. So, like all big businesses, they thought that it's time that we should set up an office in Manila and we should hire some people there because it's going to be cost saving for the business. And they hired 20 more resources in that office. They discussed with the IT company about their options to do the IT setup in Manila because, of course, there are 20 new employees. They want to create the user accounts again in Active Directory and want to provide them the similar experience of what the people in the current office have in the United States. So they discuss their options with the IT company. And this module is going to be about those options and the options which they choose and how it gets implemented. So prepare to be dazzled. So here is what we are going to cover in this module. Contoso as an organization has grown. They have two offices now, one in LA and the other one in Manila. The challenges faced by the Manila users, and then we are going to set up an ADC or an additional domain controller, which we have discussed before in Manila. We are going to set up AD sites, which we have discussed before. We have to create an Active Directory site in Manila. Once again, I'll tell you more about Active Directory sites and services. I will tell you more about Active Directory replication. We have discussed it before that the ntds.dit database needs to get replicated. The three partitions, the domain which gets replicated within the domain, and the configuration and the schema partition which has to do a forest-wide replication to all the domains within the forest. So I'm going to tell you about that replication. I'm going to show you how that replication happens. And then I'm going to share some AD replication commands with you. AD replication is one of the key component of Active Directory. And having said that, this is also one of the key component which helps you do the troubleshooting of Active Directory, because when AD replication breaks, then that's a big problem for the users, and the Active Directory starts behaving weirdly. So knowing Active Directory replication and knowing how to fix Active Directory replication is a key component of an Active Directory engineer. All right, so the IT setup for Manila office. We discussed in the introduction that they have set up a Manila office and they have hired 20 users there. And now they want to set up some kind of a IT setup for Manila so that the users in Manila can get the similar office infrastructure like they have in their LA office. So when consulted by Sam and Rita about their IT setup in Manila office, the IT company provided below two options. One option was that they set up a brand new, entirely separate domain in Forest for people in Philippines. So they can go ahead and set up a brand new domain or Forest for the people in Philippines. Or what they can do is they can go ahead and set up a lease line or a IPsec tunnel or a MPLS between the US office and the Philippines office. And users can use the same IT resources, the file server and AD server from the US. So Just the second option, what they have recommended is that maybe the users in Philippines can keep using the AD server and file server from US. We have got fast internet speeds, but of course they need to be able to reach to the domain controller and the file server which is present in US. So what they suggested was that you can either set up a lease line kind of an arrangement. It's or maybe an MPLS. So lease line and MPLS, this is something, a connection, a private connection for your organization, which you can ask your telecom service provider like AT&T or Optus or Vodafone or whoever is your telecom provider, you can ask them to set up a network connection using their existing infrastructure to connect your two offices. So this is like a long LAN cable running from your office to their office. Or the other option is an IPsec tunnel. And IPsec tunnel is something which you just need to get a public IP of your office in Manila, and you need to get the public IP of your office in LA, and then you need to go into the router of both LA and Manila, and you need to configure the IP addresses of each other in them. It's not that simple, but I'm actually trying to make it very, very raw and basic for you guys. So because logically speaking it is raw and basic, let me just show you. I think my router, every router don't have an option for IPsec tunnel. I believe my router has IPsec tunnel option, so let me see. Yep. So what you do is that you basically set up, these are different protocols, and there is like altogether a lot of technology involved in this, but basically you choose the same tunneling mechanism, you choose the interfaces which is available to you, you choose the, actually I have chosen IPv6 tunnel. I would rather go into IPv4 tunnel, and basically you just provide a connection name. So I'll say Manila. And remember, this I'm doing on, let's say, LA side, LA IPsec tunnel, remote IPsec URL. So that's basically asking for the public IP address of the other end of Manila. So I would say the Manila public IP address 125.56.89.25. So that's just some stupid IP address which I'm doing. And tunnel access for IP addresses. So it is going to tell me the remote subnet, the local subnet which you have to provide here, for which you have to, you want to provide the connections, and then you want to provide the remote subnet which is available on the other end. So it could be this. Then it is asking you for the key exchange method. This is again secret encryption methods, whatever you choose, manual or this. Then you provide a pre-shared key or password. You put a password key here, and you set up all these things. And so basically you do this setup here, and you do a similar setup on the other side, and you put the same pre-shared key password. So this router will know the remote IP address, and it's which is, for this it's the Manila IP address for this router. It's going to dial into Manila 1, and there it is going to see this key, the Manila router, and it is expecting a connection from this public IP, because a similar configuration has been made there. So basically this connection gets established, and you get an access to the remote server. So it's like a lease line connection which gets created and over the internet, and it is encrypted using a pre-shared key, and you can even sometimes put certificates on it for encryption. So this is something which is called as an IPsec tunnel. So what the IT company suggested them was that you set up a lease line, or you set up a MPLS, or you set up some kind of a IPsec tunnel between the US office and Philippines office, and user then can use the same resource, the file server which is present in US, and the AD server which is in US from there. Business thought, yeah, that sounds like a good option. Why not go ahead with option two, and they can set up a IPsec tunnel between the two office, and users in Philippines can start to work using the same Active Directory and the file server like the US users. So that sounded perfect. And they went ahead and set this up, and the network connection got established. So now you have to kind of understand. In fact, I'll just try to draw it up for you on one of the server. This will give you a better understanding. So I'm going to pull up MS Paint. Okay, so what's happening here is that this is US, and this is in a different part of the world, Manila. And they set up an office here, and they already have an office here. So this is their domain controller, this is their file server, and these are all their users here. And what they decided, that we are going to set up a IPsec tunnel over the internet between these two places, and then the users here can go over this tunnel and access the same AD server and file server like the users in US. So that was the decided solution. As you can already feel that the solution seems to be too stretched up because of the physical distances between them. So I'm sure that we are going to face some issues with this solution. But this was the cheapest solution because they already had internet here, a public IP. They already had a public IP internet here. They just had to set up the tunnel, and there was no server required, no Active Directory required there, and no file server. So it was quite cheap and simple for them. So they went ahead and used this solution. The Philippines users started facing issues. The Manila users started facing issue. Though they had the same setup as the users in LA, but their experience was not the same. They were facing below issue. Login time to their PCs was exceptionally delayed. So from the screen where you put Control Alt Delete and you put the username and password, whenever you put your credentials, an authentication request goes to the domain controller. And when your domain controller, when you log into the PC here and your domain controller is here, so the request has to go all the way here and then come back here, the experience for this user is not going to be very good. Accessing files from the file server was too slow. Again, they had map drives created here to access the file shares which was present on this file server, the same sales accounts and owners kind of shares they were accessing from here. But once again, everybody was going over this IPsec tunnel and coming back. So when they were trying to save a file which was opened from a share, or when they were trying to open a brand new file, it used to take them a lot of time to do these kind of things. So this wasn't a very good solution, and they were not happy with it. The IT company was called again, and they informed Sam and Rita that the reason behind the issue is the traffic over the IPsec tunnel across the continent was slowing down the authentication and access to file services. So as we expected, all the traffic which is going over this tunnel is actually slowing down the access for all these users in Manila. A solution was suggested, and that was to set up an additional domain controller in Manila and set up an additional file server in Manila. So what they said, why don't we set up a domain controller and file server here, considering this is the domain controller and this is the they can replicate to each other, and this file server can replicate to each other, and this replication can happen over this IPsec link, because even if there is a bit of a delay in the replication, the users will not feel that, because at least they will be able to work on the local servers. And as far as the servers are concerned, they are computers. They will manage their work. They will go ahead and replicate over the slow link without complaining much about it. So this was the solution which they suggested. Now there is a line here, explain schema upgrade. So I'm going to explain that to you when we do the additional domain controller upgrade. So here is what we need to do. We need to set up a file server, and we need to set up a domain controller in Manila. So this is our additional domain controller. We are going to set up a new domain controller in our existing domain, that is root domain, and this is going to be about uh, setting it up in Manila, and then the user should be able to authenticate from it. We have theoretically looked at the whole forest and multiple domains in it, and of course know that there will be multiple DCs within each domain. However, this is the first time that we will promote an additional domain controller and understands the reason behind why we have promoted it. Below are the activities which we intend to do in this demo. We are going to create a new subnet for Manila office, because so far what we did was that we just went ahead and set up this IPsec tunnel, and we just created a network. But now we really need to define the network properly here. Uh, and we need to promote an additional domain controller. So we'll be promoting a new server, and we will set up a new file server, and I will explain you the directory file synchronization, or the DFS. Remember the DFS solution which we discussed, which was replicating our sysvol. I even showed you the event viewer, which was in the domain controller, where I showed you the directory file replication system, and the all the events which was showing up there. So that is the same system which we can use to replicate the file servers as well, which is being used to replicate the sysvol. So, all right, let's get started. And here is what I have done. I went ahead and created a new machine. I have named it ADC, and it's running already. And what else I have done is that I have gone to my network, and I added a new subnet here to define the Manila location. So this is the subnet. And then the new virtual machine which I created, it is in the Manila subnet, as you can see. And one more thing which I did this time, I have created the DNS name for my machine, so that every time when I deallocate it and reallocate it, I don't have to put the IP address in my remote desktop connection. Rather, I can just connect it with this DNS name. So guys, there is a reason that I didn't tell this thing to you already. Number one, I wanted to show you the pain of changing the IP address, and I wanted to explain you how the machines are getting deallocated, and the new IP address, I wanted to you to remember that. Second reason was that I wanted you to understand DNS and its benefit. So like I told you, that whatever you do in your life, even it has nothing to do with Active Directory, as long as you are in my IT infrastructure, not even Microsoft infrastructure, IT infrastructure space, this is going to be part of your life, DNS. So you better make it your friend. All right, so this is already running, and I have remoted into it. And okay, and I'm just going to close this, and I will show you the command prompt. I'll show you netconfig rdr, and this will tell you that this machine is part of a work group as of now. This machine is not part of the domain. So I have got two options. Either I can join it to the domain, and then I can promote it, or I can straight away start promoting it, and it will do both the things in one go. That is, it will join the domain, and then it will become a domain controller in that domain. The domain is rootdomain.com. Let me validate the DNS server. Yep, so our DNS server is still our primary domain controller. It's very important. So before we go ahead, it is very important that we make sure that our domain controller is reachable, and we are able to do the name resolution from it, because without doing that we will not be able to promote our new domain controller. So I tried to ping the IP address, and it is unreachable, and the reason for that is that I didn't boot up my PDC. So I'm going to start that now. And we are going to wait for it to boot up. PDC is back up and running. Let me Okay, so now we are getting responses from PDC. You also need to make sure that our name resolution is working fine. We are able to, yep, so we can resolve the root domain.com. Now we will go ahead and go to server manager. And we'll go to manage, add role and features. So once again, guys, remember the command for promoting domain controller in earlier version of operating system used to be DC promo, but now it doesn't work like this. They have made it too sophisticated, and they make you do it from server manager, and you basically just have to select your own server, and then you have to say Active Directory domain services. Then you have to say next. And then you say install. It installs the binaries on your computer. So we are going to wait for it. Alright guys, so while this is getting installed, I also wanted to talk to you about the schema. So remember I told you that every new version of domain controller, if you bring to your existing Active Directory, then the new version of domain controller will bring some new attributes and new classes to the existing schema, because this is a new guy and he speaks two languages, whereas the existing guys only speak English. So the existing guys needs to be brought to the same level, or at least they needs to be given a dictionary in their back pocket, so that if this guy ever speak in a new language, they can understand those things. And that process is called as a schema upgrade. So in earlier version of Windows, schema upgrade used to be different, and we used to use the commands like ad prep, forest prep, ad prep, domain prep. So we used to use commands like these, but now what has happened is that once again this has become too sophisticated, and when I try to promote the 2016 domain controller, this is by the way a 2016 domain controller. in an existing domain which is 2012, it doesn't ask me to do the schema upgrade myself. So in earlier version of Windows, we had to do those things ourselves, but now it doesn't ask us to do it ourselves because it takes care of it. So, okay, so it takes care of it by itself. So, but you need to understand that when you are doing an upgrade between the version of Windows, if you are bringing in a new domain controller of a higher version, like I'm doing here, Windows 2016, then it is quite possible that you will have to do a schema upgrade. In fact, the schema upgrade happens. I said it wrong. It's not that it's quite possible. The schema upgrade will definitely happen. But nowadays, you don't have to do it. This wizard itself does it in the background. So promote this server as a domain controller. So remember, this machine is not even joined to the domain as of now. So what's happening is that this installation pop-up came exactly like how it came for the first time for us. But at that time we said add new forest. Uh, this time the option which we are going to choose is add a domain controller to an existing domain. So it's going to ask what is the name of the domain, and we are going to say rootdomain.com, and it's going to ask what is the credentials which you want to use for this deployment. So we are going to say root domain /admin 007 and then the password. Okay, that's it. So now it is asking, do I want to install DNS or do I want to install global catalog? I will mark, I will clear the global catalog because I don't want to make it a global catalog server. And it's asking me what site do you want to put it in. Remember, we created these sites. See how quickly it has identified the domain and it is looking at all those options. I'll just leave it in the default first site for now. And it's asking me for the DSRM password or the directory services restore move password. Once again, this is kind of a safe mode for Active Directory. So this password you should set now and you should keep it on file somewhere because it's quite possible that one day your domain controller is not booting up and you need to go into this mode to do some troubleshooting. So always keep a record of this password. So replicate from any domain controller, I can just choose, so I'll say PDC. This is the path, C Windows NTDS. This is for the NTDS .dit. C Windows sysvol is your sysvol path. To install this domain controller, the wizard needs to perform following operation: forest and schema preparation, domain preparation. So this is the AD prep, domain prep, and AD prep, forest prep, which I set. So these are the preparations which it has to do, and it is saying that this user needs to be member of enterprise admin and schema admin groups to be able to perform these changes. So server 2016 is going to bring in new schema. Where? To my schema master. Who is my schema master? My PDC. So what it is saying is that the credentials which I have provided, which are those credentials? The credentials which I have provided, admin 007, they should be member of enterprise admin group and schema admin group on my existing domain or domain controller so that it can perform the schema upgrade, because otherwise schema upgrade would not be allowed. I'm quite certain that I did not make my admin 007 user account member of schema upgrade, schema admin, and enterprise admin group. Nope, So it would have failed. I will go ahead and do schema admins, and I would do enterprise admin. All right. So, okay, all right. I have given the guy this permission. Now let's go ahead. It's reviewing all the options that it's going to be in the default first side and no, 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 yes, 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 whatever. Doing the prerequisite check. So once again, it is saying that it has a dynamic IP address. So we'll fix it by going into the Azure control panel. So I will go to ADC. I will go to networking. I will go to my NIC card. This is the NIC card of the machine, which you see in ncpa.cpl on your local computer. And IP configuration. And make it static. So made the IP address static because it's a domain controller. All the client PCs are going to look towards it, and it can't keep changing its IP address every day. So that's why we have to make it static. So this is taken care of. This machine will not realize it because as far as the local network card is concerned, it is still set on dynamic IP address. Let me show you. See, so this machine may not realize it, but we don't care about it. We have set the static IP, and all these are warnings. They are not going to stop us from installing. Now, this warning is about the domain controller that hosts the infrastructure master role for this domain is also the global catalog server. Remember, I told you that this is an interview question that why a global catalog server and infrastructure master should not be on the same server, because then infrastructure master stopped doing its job. And what they are saying, in a multi-domain environment, hosting this can cause problems. So that's what it is talking about. So they are giving us a warning. I'll say I'll know all this. I will say install upgrading forest, that's adprep /forest prep, adprep /domain prep. Installing DNS, the schema upgrade just happened. So that means my schema admin and my domain and my enterprise admin credentials worked because my schema admin server was able to upgrade the schema. All right, so the server successfully got configured as a domain controller, and I think it's going to reboot now. Yeah. All right, server. All right, guys. So it looks like the ADC is back up. Let's log into it. Now this is a domain controller, so we should be able to open dsa.msc here. See? Snap-in might have still connected to PDC. Now it has connected to ADC. You can see the snap-in is connected to ADC, and we call all these snap-ins because just because they're opening on this computer doesn't mean that they are showing the information from this computer. All these snap-ins, they can connect to other domain controllers and other domain for that matter. If you go under here, it has the same stuff which we have in our PDC because the Active Directory has replicated. All the users, groups, everything is the same. If you go under domain controller, now you see two domain controllers and both of them are in the default first site. And it also shows that PDC is a global catalog server, whereas this is not a global catalog server. So PDC, ADC, you have got two domain controllers now. So, and I'll also show you DNS. So this is connected to the ADC. Remember I told you that if you had another DNS server and you wanted to connect that, so you can connect that too. See, this is PDC. These are the PDC. This is the ADC. If you go under forward lookup zone, the same two zone here, the same two zone here. You go ahead and delete this. You have this here. You have this here. You go ahead and delete this record from here. It's yet not deleted, but as soon as the Active Directory replication occurs and reload, this is going to get deleted. So I'll show it to you later, but just remember this will get removed from here later. So yeah, so that's what it looks like. You have the additional domain controller. So we have promoted it successfully. I told you about the schema upgrade. Let's go back to the training. And what's left? So we created a new subnet for Manila office. We promoted an additional domain controller in Manila office. We then set up a new file server in Manila office, and I didn't give you the explanation of DFS. Okay. So once again, the sysvol folder on this machine is C Windows sysvol folder because I didn't change the path. And if I create anything here, let me show you. So I will go to PDC server hour, which is in LA, and I will go to the sysvol folder on PDC as well. So this is the PDC over the network, and this is the policies and scripts, and same content. This is on PDC, this is locally on this computer. If I go ahead and create a folder here, it got created here as well. If I go ahead and rename it, it got renamed here as well. So this is the file replication which is happening. This is the DFS replication. I also showed you the event viewer. On the PDC server. Now I'm showing it to you here, and if you go under application and services logs, you would see you have got DFS replication logs, and this is telling you all about the replication. You can look into these logs if you want to, but yeah. So you should, if this replication is not working, this is the first place where you should come and you should look for error message. You should go to this place on both the servers, and you should look into the error message and then troubleshoot accordingly. So this is the file replication, which is using the DFS engine. So what you can do is that there exists, and I'm not going to do this, but what you can do is that if you go to server manager, so you come here and you go to add roles and features, and then you go to role-based feature installation and you select the server, and then you go into file and storage services and then file and iSCSI services, and you get some sections here which says DFS namespace and DFS replication, and you can install these solutions on your machine, and using this you can what you can do is that you can replicate between your file servers. Now remember, I'm doing it on my ADC because you can have your file server as well as your domain controller on the same server as well, especially if it is a small organization with only 20-25 users. There is no point setting up a separate domain controller than a separate file server. You can pretty much do it on same server, and then you can set up the replication of the folders, and the folder will get replicated very same way like I showed you that these two folders are getting replicated. So all the data which is on the file server on that in LA servers will get replicated over here. So this is the DFS which you can use for it. There are better solutions now. So you can use solutions like Azure Backup. So if I go here, there is solutions like Azure Backup, and there are solutions like which can I don't remember the name of those solutions, but these solutions are available. Azure Files, which you can uh, file sync, Azure file sync. You can use this Azure file sync agent. What you can do is that you can install one agent on your file server in LA, and you can install one agent on a file server in Philippines. And what this is going to do is that it will constantly replicate between them, and it can also create a copy of the same thing on in the cloud. So in a way, it is backing up the data as well. So you can use a solution like Azure File Sync. You can also use solution like OneDrive if you tweak it a bit, or I have used this solution Workplace. So Workplace is an Autotask product, and you can use that as well to synchronize data between two file servers. So there are way too many solutions available now to synchronize between the file servers. However, DFS is the default solution which is available in Windows file server, and if you don't want to spend the money on any third-party solution, then you can use DFS to synchronize your file servers. All right. Let's go back to the training. Okay, so let's move on to the next module, which is Introduction to Active Directory Sites and Services. I know that we have done this already, but I need to explain it more. So we have created the domain controller for Manila, and we know it, but we need to let PCs in Manila also know in some technical way that they now have a local domain controller, and they don't need to grow across the continent for authentication. And we will do this via Active Directory sites and services. Okay. So we are going to create a site in Manila, and we are going to bind the subnet with that site. So once again, going back to DNS, if you remember, I told you that when you go under sites, when a client PC is getting authenticated, it goes to the site to which it belongs, and it asks what are the domain controllers. Now that we have one more DC, earlier we only used to see PDC here, now we are seeing ADC here as well. Okay, so as far as current Active Directory is concerned, it doesn't even know that the domain controller which you have promoted, that is in the Manila site. As far as it is concerned, it is seeing the domain controller in the default first site name, which is pretty much the LA site. So, alright, so let's begin with Active Directory sites and services. Let's go here. And as you can see that in the default first site name, now we have got two domain controllers. So we will begin with creating the Manila site, go here and we say Manila site, and it can have any name, and we are going to select the default IP site link with IP transport, and it says that the site has been created, Manila site. Now let me just explain you what is a site link. So I will go to my MS Paint. So what we are doing here is that we created a site in Active Directory, which is supposed to be LA. In fact, what I'll do is I'll create a LA site for you as well. So we created a site called as LA, and we created a site called as Manila. Now these are two sites, physical sites. What about the connection between them? This connection could be IPsec, this connection could be a lease line, this connection could be an MPLS, this connection could be a really long LAN wire, whatever this connection is. But Active Directory also needs to know about that connection, and that connection is called as a inter-site IP transport or IP site link. So if you go under inter-site IP transport, you have got IP site links. So this is IP to IP, whether it is MPLS, whether it is IPsec, whatever it is over the network. The other connection which you can make is SMTP. So I have never used it in my life, but let's assume there are two domain controllers in different part of the continent, and the only way they can replicate to each other is by sending all the data, replication data to each other over SMTP protocol or over the email protocol. So in those situations, you will create a SMTP site link. But as long as you have a IP-based connectivity, whatever it is, MPLS or IPsec or whatever it is, you will create a IP site link. Okay, so this is what is a site link. So we created a Manila site. Now let's go ahead and create a site for LA as well. And LA site also got created. And I will go ahead and create a site link now, IP-based site link, which defines that there is a connection between two sites, LA, Manila site link. And what are the two sites in this? LA and Manila. Okay. And LA and Manila is also in this site link. So you can remove it from this site link. This basically means that there is a mesh of default IP site link means that there is a mesh and all these sites are connected to this. So technically what default site link look like is something like this. A site link where this is connected, another site for Sydney is there, and another site for Florida is there. So all of them are connected, and this is exactly how it is right now. I've got two options. Either I can leave it like this, where I'm saying that these two sites, LA and Manila, are connected by the default first site link, as well as the LA Manila site, or I can remove them from here, and that means they are connected to each other via this only. And then in future, if we bring in another site, we will have to think about the site link between them. So to remove the confusion, I'm just going to delete these sites from here. What objects are there? Yeah, sure. And what I'm going to do, the servers from here, I will move the ADC into Manila site, and I will move PDC into LA site. Okay. So far we said that what are the sites which are in, what are the domain controllers in which sites, so that the DNS can get updated. The next thing which we have to do, and eventually we'll see that all these sites should show up here. If I refresh it, hopefully they are already showing up. Yeah, so LA and Manila are showing up here. And if you go under TCP, see under LA your GC is PDC, your Kerberos is PDC, and your LDAP is PDC. Under Manila, you're right. So under Manila, your GC is still PDC. You know why? Because there is nobody in Manila site, which is GC. So if somebody comes, a client comes to Manila site and asks, you know what, I don't, where is the global catalog server? What will Manila site say? I don't have a global catalog server. No, it is going to provide a referral to PDC. For the Kerberos as well, it has created a referral. For the Kerberos, there is ADC as well. So it has published the other records as well. So I think the Kerberos record should get removed, but the GC records will remain, and the LDAP record should also get removed eventually. So that's how the DNS got updated. Now we created the sites, we moved the servers inside sites so that DNS can respond. But now how does which subnet know that which site does it belong to? We have got two subnets. Let me show you. If we go here, then we have virtual networks. Subnets. We have a default subnet and we have a Manila subnet. So maybe we can go ahead and if we have an option to rename it, maybe we can. I don't see an option to rename this subnet, so that's okay. We have a default subnet and we have a Manila subnet. The IP address 10.0.0.0.0 or 10.0.1.0. Okay, so there are two subnets. Now we have created the sites. We have also put the servers inside them. But which client knows which subnet or which site does it belong to? So we need to create subnets here. 10.0.0.0./24, and this belongs to default first time. This is the Los Angeles subnet. And then the other subnet is new subnet 10.0.1.0/24, and this belongs to Manila site. So now any PC which has a IP of this subnet will default understand that I belongs to Manila site. And any PC with this subnet will by default understand that I belongs to default first site name. Okay, and they will go to their respective domain controller. Otherwise, what happens? I'll tell you the technical issue which happens. Even after you do all these things, you create a domain controller, you put the domain controller in the correct site. If you don't create the subnets, a domain controller or rather a client PC, when you try to log into it, it will still go to LA domain controller to get authenticated. Because it will say, I didn't know which site I belongs to. How do I know that I belongs to this site? I know these are very obvious things. You are in Manila, so you belong to Manila site. But how does a computer know that it is in Manila? You have to make the things very obvious. And that's what you do with subnet. You created a subnet, you attached it to a site, and this way, now the domain controller knows, or now the client PC knows, okay, I'm in Manila site and I need to find Manila DC. And then it goes here to the DNS and it will tell it. So ideally, it should get deleted from it, but if it doesn't get deleted, I will go ahead and delete it, because I may face an issue that despite of doing everything, some clients sometimes go to PDC for authentication. And I would say, no, I don't want that. I don't want them to go to PDC. So I will delete this record. I only want them to go to ADC. But what about GC? For global catalog, they are going to the PDC. Well, that's a problem. In that case, what I'm going to do is, I will go ahead and promote my Manila server as a global catalog as well. I will go to properties here and I will put a check here. Global catalog. And now it is going to start creating that partition. I told you that global catalog is a server which keeps a partial replica of all the objects in the forest, of rest of the domains and everything in the forest. So it's going to create that partial replica. It's a time consuming process. It's going to take some time, but eventually it will become a GCE, and in then it will also go ahead and publish the DNS record here along with PDC, that ADC is also a GC. And in that case, if it doesn't get deleted by itself, I think it doesn't get deleted by itself. I will have to delete it myself. I'll go ahead and delete this. But we have to make sure. And this is the situation which I'm telling you. I told you that in 99% of the cases, you don't have to come down here and do the troubleshooting. These are those 1% cases when you will see that your PC, despite of doing everything, is going to offsite, and then you will come here and into the site DNS, and then you will look here. You will also go here, and you will also go here, and you will also look. You will check all these places, and you will make sure that correct servers are updated here. For LA, only this should be here. For Manila, only this should be here. You need to make sure these things. All right. So let's go to the next module of the training. What is it? Okay, so I explained you how to create the Manila site. I told you about the clients going off-site for authentication. So we troubleshoot that by adding the subnets, and I explained you the subnet binding. Introduction to Active Directory replication. So I did mention it before that all domain controllers in a forest replicate to each other to maintain the same ntds.dit database or the Active Directory database. The process is called as Active Directory replication. Further, as discussed before, Active Directory database is made up of three partitions: schema partition, which is forest-wide; configuration partition, which is forest-wide; and domain partition, which is domain-wide. Which means that domain partition is consistent between all the domain controllers in a domain, whereas schema partition and configuration partition is consistent between all the DCs in a forest. So let me show you how this AD replication happens. I will go to the easiest way to test AD replication is actually very easy. You go here into any DC. I'll just minimize all this. So I'm back to Active Directory sites and services, guys. And in this console, I will go to Manila site, and I want to make sure that my domain controller is replicating. So what I'll see, okay, it is replicating with PDC. So I'll say right click, replicate now. This message basically says that the domain controller is in different site. It is not in same site as this Manila site, and there could be, what it is saying is that there could be a delay in the replication because this could be an intercontinent difference and the geographical boundaries and stuff like that. So it's just saying that in the next attempt I'm going to try it. However, if this would had been in the same site, then in that case you would have got a immediate message which would have said replication completed successfully. So this replicate now is something which you can do. I'll just try to move it here. See, Active Directory Domain Services has replicated the connection. So you don't just drag and drop the servers like that. Believe me, I have no Active Directory. My Active Directory database is 12 MB, and this is all a test setup. So I'm just doing whatever I want to do. But you don't do things like this. Okay. So this is replicate now. So that's how within the same site you get an instantaneous result. But when you are in different sites, then it doesn't happen like this. I will put it back here. Yeah, so when they are in different site, there is a message. So that's the easiest way how to do a test for replication. Second way is you go to command prompt, or maybe let's start doing it via PowerShell. So always try to open it as run as administrator, and then you do rep admin / sync all. Sync all finished, sync all terminated with no errors. So this basically says that you said rep admin sync all the DCs will get all the this domain controller will replicate with all its partners. There is a command which I used to use, EAP. So now you can see that it is showing you the partitions specifically. Forest DNS zone is one partition, sync finished without any error. Domain DNS zone is another partition, finished without no error. CN schema partition, sync finished without no errors. Configuration partition, sync finished without no errors. Domain partitions, sync finish without no error. So repadmin sync all is another command which you can use to replicate. There is another command which we can use for repadmin. It is also very famous, repadmin / show repl. And then I used to put asterisk here. So yeah, if you can see, it basically by putting, if I wouldn't have put asterisk, it would have only showed the replication partner of the machine from where I was running it. Like it is showing read domain, LA ADC via RPC, it replicated this. Last attempt was successful, successful. Again, it is showing all the partitions getting replicated. Successful, successful, successful. Then this is for the other domain controller, ADC. Again, it showed that it was successful. So even if you had like 50 domain controllers, you could have ran this command and on a single screen, it would have shown you if there is any failure or not. Okay, so that's also command. Now PowerShell also has a lot of commandlets which has come up, but I think we still quite use the AD command prompt modules quite a lot. But I found this article which is talking about various commands which are there. So repadmin show repl, you can do it with get AD replication partner metadata. Repadmin queue, you can do it with this. Repadmin single object. Again, see, these are various commands and things which are available, and I hope you reach to the levels where you start doing the troubleshooting of these things, or maybe you will not have to do it that often. But these are the things which you can build upon, and you can Google and you can figure out what are the command exactly which you have to use. But from interview point of view, mostly repadmin show reps, repadmin show repl, and repadmin sync all, these kind of commands, they are good enough answers for you. So just try to do this, and I think you'll be good. And most of the time it is a very valid response even during an interview or when you are actually working, that I will Google this. So you cannot remember everything, and as long as you understand the concept, you will know that what you have to Google, and then you can find it out. So that's it. Now let's go back to the training. What else? So I told you about the PowerShell command. Okay, AD replication, site links and site cost. Okay. Remember I told you that these are the site links which are the connections, and these are IP site links. So there is a MPLS connection, or there could be an IPsec connection, or there could be a very long wire. So these IP site links are actually representing whatever that physical connectivity is, whether it is IPsec or whether it is MPLS or whether it is a very long LAN cable, and whatever that connectivity is based on uh, the setup which you have done, there could be a cost involved with it. Like you could be paying for the data which is traveling on that link, or there could be some slowness in that link. Now, based on those things, like if it is a free solution for you, what you can do is that you can go ahead and mark this cost as 0 or 10 or 1. And if it is a very expensive solution for you, you can mark this cost really high, 100,000. So there is no relative number, and this is not a dollar cost. This 100 is only in reference to the other cost which is there. So if this is 100, and if you make the other one this much, then of course the 101 will be used more frequently, and this will be used less frequently. And then you can also define the replication interval in minutes, that how soon, 180 minutes is like 3 hours, how soon do you want to replicate it. Remember when I was moving these servers, or these, in fact they are in different sites, so when you are going here now and you are saying replicate now, it doesn't give you an immediate message that yeah, replicated. It's saying that they are in different site and I'm going to try it when I try it. So it has taken your request and it will try it next time, because current cycling interval is 180 minutes. So maybe you want to reduce that time interval, replication interval, and maybe you want to change a schedule. You want to set up some time. Your site link is a physical site link which goes down in the night for whatever reason. So you want to remove that duration from the AD replication time, because if the physical link goes down and Active Directory doesn't know about it, it will keep trying to replicate, and in the morning it will give you 100,000 error messages in the event viewer that I cannot replicate, whereas you already knew that the physical link is going to be down. So you can set up the schedules here. So once again, the site link is a logical representation of the physical link which you have between two sites. And depending on how expensive that link for you is and what kind of a delay you want to set up on that link, you can set up these cost and replication interval parameters. And last but not the least, you can set up a actual schedule when that link is available, and you can just set it replication not available or available sort of thing. And so that Active Directory domain controller don't try to replicate when the site link is going to be down. All right, so what's next? So guys, here is what we covered in this module. We installed an additional domain controller. We created Active Directory sites. We told you about the IPs, the subnets, the cost, the schedules, etc. I gave you a lot of AD replication commands. Which you can use, and I would like you to research more on AD replication and stuff when you have time. Just read more about it. And I showed you how different partitions of Active Directory get replicated separately. And I hope you really found this very informative. So now here's what you want to do. You want to set up an additional domain controller, and maybe you can also set up a 2016 domain controller and your domain schema will get upgraded automatically. Maybe you want to find AD prep commands and run that schema upgrade manually for your learning if you want to. Promote the additional domain controller in your domain, contoso.com or whatever you have named it. Test the replication by creating and deleting OUs and users, etc. Yeah, that reminds me. Let's go to DNS. Remember, I deleted website record from here. From here, I deleted it. Now it is gone. It would have gone a long time ago. We just checked it. So that's replication. Now I'm also going to show you that how I create a new OU. Currently, I'm connected to ADC. So I will go ahead and create a new OU here and test OU. And this OU should get, I will try to push the replication. Okay, and let's go here. This is the PDC. This is the Active Directory users and computers. I will remove the advanced features view. Test OU, it got replicated. Now I'll go ahead and delete the test OU from here. Because there is a checkbox. Okay, nice. So when we create an OU, we get an option to put a checkbox of manage, remove, an option to prevent accidental deletion. Look here. So if you have created an OU like this, I think you'll have to go to properties of it and so I'll try to delete it from here. Most likely it will not let me delete from here as well. Yeah. So I don't remember how to delete it. I think we'll have to go into some properties and security before deleting it. Basically that checkbox is enabled, and that has given me a deny permission on this OU. And actually, let me enable the advanced feature. Maybe that's why I wasn't able to do it. So if I go to security here, object, yeah, so I will have to uncheck this. And now I can go ahead and delete this. And I will once again push the sync all, and the test OU is here. And the test OU is deleted. See? So this is what AD replication is. So we tested replication by deleting and creating OUs. You can create an AD site, bind the relevant subnet with that site like I did it, validate the site link and site cost. So just have a look at these things, and I hope it gives you some perspective, some more perspective now about Active Directory. I hope you enjoyed this module, and I'm going to see you in the next module soon. Take care. Bye-bye.